Hello, everybody. Welcome to another session of Clat, where we'll be discussing the current affairs, keeping Clat in mind for 21st January 2023. Before we begin, let us go through what we'll be discussing in today's video. So there are 8 key topics that we'll be focusing on, and then we'll have some quick news where we'll be stating some important news in one line, which might not require us to go into that depth. Firstly, the Sri Lanka economic crisis, P-Gate case, 73rd and 74th Amendment, then the G20 related updates, 5th, the Caste-based Census PIL, then the Tuberculosis related news, 7th, the 57th DGP Conference, and finally, some influencer guidelines that have been released recently. Let's start off with the first one, Sri Lanka economic crisis. The reason why we're discussing that in today's video is because India has become the first country out of the key creditors, China, Japan, and India itself, to give financial assurance with a $2.9 or million package through the IMF, which is the International Monetary Fund. This assurance has been given to Sri Lanka so that it can come up from this economic crisis, or it's a kind of a help. But secondly, India has also encouraged other key creditors, China and Japan, to also support and help Sri Lanka out of this crisis situation. Secondly, I'm sure each one of us have definitely heard of the P-Gate case at least once. Let me brush off with the few details. That is, this Air India flight was from the New York to New Delhi in India, where Shankar Mishra, a passenger, urinated on a woman co-passenger. When this news came to light a few weeks back, and today the DGCA has taken some actions related to this. DGCA expands to Directorate General of Civil Aviation. They have fined Air India on rupees 30 lakhs and also suspended the pilot in command for 3 months. It also states the reasons behind these two actions taken. First off, it was the responsibility and duty of the Air India to report this incident to the regulator, which it has failed to do so, hence the fine. Secondly, it is the duty of the pilot in command to ensure the discipline of the passengers, and in case the passengers misbehave with the co-passengers, then it is the duty of the pilot in command to not only ensure that action is taken, but also to inform the people whom they are supposed to, and Air India must have formed a committee which internally does the right thing and decides upon what should be done. Due to the failure of both these things, DGCA has taken such a step. Now let's talk about the 73rd Amendment and the 74th Amendment. But why are we talking about it in today's video? That is because of some recent developments that have happened and some suicide cases that have come to light. We will be discussing about all of that in detail in the coming videos. But for now, let us understand the 73rd and the 74th Amendment of the Constitution. The 73rd Amendment. It provides constitutional status and ensures protection to the Panchayat Raj institutions. And that's also how the Part 9 and Schedule 11 of the Constitution was created. Now the 74th Amendment, it's very similar to the 73rd, The only difference being that it provides constitutional status and protection, but to the urban local bodies. And that's how the Part 9A and Schedule 12 came into existence. Let's talk about the G20. We all know that India holds the presidency of G20 for this year, that is 2023. Let's go into it a little deeper. Indonesia held the presidency of G20 for the year 2022, and this year India is holding it. The coming year, that is 2024, Brazil would be hosting this G20 summit. And Indonesia, India, and Brazil, all these three countries would be focusing on the development and the betterment and the easy growth of the developing countries. Finally, in the year 2025, Africa will be handed over the presidency in 2025. And we yet to know on what happens later. Now that we have been given the presidency for G20, our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji has started an initiative called LIFE, which expands to Lifestyle for Environment, where they have been taken this initiative to encourage people to live in a way which is beneficial not only to them and the ones around them, but also to the environment, which benefits all of us in the long run. Also, the motto for G20 2023 India is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which means one earth, one family, and one future. Now let us move to the next news, which is Caste-based Census PIL. So let us understand what a PIL means in the first place. It expands to public interest litigation. It is a litigation filed in the court of law for the protection of public interest, or the good for most people, or the larger good. Now let us come back to what happened in this particular PIL. So this PIL plea was submitted stating that the executive's decision of the Bihar state government to issue a notification or to conduct this caste-based census is unconstitutional and beyond its purview, because all these decisions related to caste-based census come under the central list and not the state list. But the Supreme Court has refused to entertain this PIL and suggested them to challenge the same in the High Court. Let's talk about TB or tuberculosis and go a little bit into its background. Tuberculosis is first of all caused by Mycobacterium tuberculosis. It's most prevalent in Tamil Nadu when we talk about India. So we've come up with a campaign. It's called TB Harega, Desh Jeetega. So through this campaign, we, or India, has set a goal to eliminate TB by the year 2025 and to form this TB Mukt Bharat. Let's talk about Nikshay Poshan Yojana. And most of us might know that Poshan means nutrition. So, and it's said that TB happens or is seen in people mostly because they are not having sufficient nutrients to fight against it. Thus, rupees 500 is given to patients every month who are undergoing this treatment to support their nutrition. Let's talk about the 57th Director General of Police Conference. This conference was held in Delhi, and the topic of this conference was managing influence of Chinese commercial entities. But why did they do all of this in the first place? That was because it has come to light that Chinese companies have been collecting personal data. They did this to have economic control. They collected the information through the app permissions and granted by the app users, especially by two categories, the loan apps and the gaming apps. And to prevent or to probe against these, the Intelligence Bureau has created this new wing called China Coordination Center, which will be collaborating with the financial enforcement agencies to probe action against such companies. Moving forward, and the last news, the influencer guidelines, which is also called as the endorsements know house. So this has they have clearly mentioned that if if the celebrities or virtual influencers on social media platforms are promoting any product, then they must explicitly mention whether they are doing this for free or whether this is a paid sponsored promotion. And if at all they don't do so, then action will be taken by the Central Consumer Protection Authority. And what is the action that will be taken by them? The company would have to pay a fine of 10 lakh rupees. And if the influencer has been, if it's been observed that the influencer has been repeating this offense, then he would be charged 50 lakhs. Also, the influencer may be banned for a year. Now let's go for some quick news, where we mention important newses which are not so detailed in one line. Wayanad, a district in Kerala, has become the first district in India to provide basic documents such as voter ID card, ration card, Aadhaar card, birth or death certificates to the tribal people. Secondly, we all know that we'll have the Republic Day parade and the celebration on the 26th of January. The chief guest for this year is Egypt's President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. Now there's an update about the Kali poster row. Leena Manimekhalai, the short film maker, who had there were multiple FIRs filed across the country against the Kali poster in which the goddess Kali was seen smoking. So there were multiple FIRs filed across the country. The Supreme Court has ordered for the state to take care and to have all these FIRs consolidated in one single place to take action, and also one of the high courts to manage this case. Coming to revenue fair split. The revenue fair split talks about the split of revenue between the creators and the aggregators. So what does aggregators means? The platform holders, any platform on which the content is published, or it's to help people, more and more number of people to have the content available. That's aggregator. It was firstly seen in Australia, where it was successful through the bargaining code, where these aggregators had to negotiate with the creators for the split of this revenue. And a member of the parliament in Australia, Paul Fletcher, played a big role in this bargaining code and for its application in Australia. Finally, talking about Saurav Das versus Union of India case. In this case, the Supreme Court had passed this final judgment stating that a charge sheet or an FIR is a private document. Hence, it is not mandatory and not necessary for publishing it or uploading it in any public websites, government websites, or any applications. So that is it for the current affairs of today. Let us end this with the message, a beautiful message from the Gita. Do your duty, but do not be attached to the fruit of the action. Gita 2.47. Thank you all. I hope Each one of you could learn something, and it will definitely help you in your preparation for CLAT. Thank you once again.